Well, hello and welcome back to another All for Wofo show. Today we have a familiar face with us, but a not so familiar topic for many of us, as we're diving into another of our get to know yous. And this time we're addressing the Adran Premier, the first division of women's football in Wales. And we'll dive deeper into Welsh women's football as well throughout the course of the episode. So let's get into it. Yes, welcome back, and it's lovely to have you on, Sean. Thank you for joining us for this special episode. I guess just how are you to start off with?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Season starting, football is all around, it is on 7 days a week. So I think we're all a little hectic, but it is an absolute honour to be on with you today, Laura.
Awesome. No, really looking forward to this conversation, and we've done a couple of shows on this so far. We've done Italy and Scotland and Welsh. The league was very much overdue, so glad that we can cover it. I guess to start, then you're very familiar on this channel, but would you be able to, I guess, just tell us a little bit more about your work, particularly in Welsh football, and how you first got into it, really?
So I initially, when I went to university, I did a degree in international relations, which is just a sort of politics degree. And I thought, right, I want to be a politician. Let's change the world. And then as I started university, Brexit happened, a few other things. I thought, this isn't it. This is not the one for me. So my master's, I did journalism down in Swansea, but it was COVID, so no face-to-face lectures, no going out and getting experience or anything like that. So I left university, didn't really know how to start, and then I got involved with a volunteer website called Y Clwb Pêl-droed, which is the Welsh for literally football club, and they cover every level of domestic football in Wales. But they did a bit of women's football, but I thought, well, there's a gap for someone there to start doing it a little more. So I got involved, and yeah, I've been covering the league since 2021, and yeah, there's been a whole restructure since 2021. That's the first year of the whole restructure. So seeing it develop along that way is just really cool to see. But yeah, that's how I got into it, and then from there, gone into various different other things. But yeah, that's how it all started, really, by one big confusion of politics into this.
Yeah, I can very much relate, having studied history and politics, to then going into journalism and thinking I wanted to be a politician, and then Brexit Brexit wasn't the one. Also realizing that kind of you do current affairs type politics at school, and then you go into a uni and it's not that. So yeah, very different. But yeah, can very much relate. But digging into the Welsh stuff a little bit more, then, and you speak about kind of restructure. And as I mentioned, we've done a couple of shows in this ilk. We did Scotland and Italy, so do go and watch them as well if you're enjoying this show. But they both split the leagues, and we've had a lot of discussion about that. And I think it's the same in Wales, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess, would you just be able to outline the structure of the Adran Premier and your views of how that works, and whether it works well?
So the Adran Premier is an eight-tier league, an eight-team league, made up of teams across Wales. And the big advantage of it compared to men's football, so in the Welsh men's football system, you haven't got English clubs playing. So Cardiff City, Swansea, Wrexham all play in the English system. In the women's, they all play in the Welsh system. So you've got Cardiff City, you've got Wrexham, you've got Swansea, and that makes it quite exciting. And yeah, so it's an eight-team league, and then everyone plays each other twice. And then after all that's done, the league splits in two. So the bottom four battle relegation, and the top four battle for promotion. They both play each other twice again. So some teams will meet four times in a season, but if you add cups, there are some teams who have met six times in the season. So it is a lot for some of the teams. But I've always said I'm a big fan of the league split, just because that competitiveness. Because if you look at the WSL, for example, today, and I'm not saying these teams will be at the top or the bottom come the end of the season, but say you've got a late fixture between Chelsea and West Ham, what's there much to go on? You kind of know what's going to happen. But in Wales, in Scotland, in Italy, every game matters. Every point, 3 points, it all matters. And it just makes the league exciting from start to finish, because even if you're not one of the top teams, but you get that top four spot. That competitiveness playing against the really top teams, that helps so much. And we've seen that season on season, those teams getting better as a result. And now heading in, starting this year, I think this is the most competitive league we've had for a really long time. And yeah, there's been a good few transfers as well in and out of the league in recent years. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the split. And yeah, I would, if it came into the WSL, I'd be very happy about it.
Yeah, I feel like through the course of these shows, the views on this channel have slowly like shifted towards being more and more in favour of a split, and it feels like something that's actually does make it really exciting. You touched a little bit on the fact that Cardiff City, Swansea City, Wrexham play in the Adran Premier instead of the kind of English leagues, which is what's happening in the men's. I guess I just wanted to touch quickly on, is it Gwalior United? Have I got that pronunciation right?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
They're the example where that is happening, where they're competing in the English leagues. I guess, yeah, is there like an origin story to that? Was it about ability or kind of just when the team was formed and how that started? I know they've obviously changed their name as well to represent Wales a little bit more this season. How come we see Swansea City, Cardiff City competing in Welsh leagues that we don't in the men's, but we do see Gwalior United?
So Gwalior United were originally called Cardiff City Ladies, and they were formed a good while ago. So the first Welsh league started in 2009. So this is all quite a new league for us. But
Sure.
Cardiff City Ladies existed well before then. So the English FA invited them in, and they used to play the likes of Arsenal. They played the likes of Everton back in the day, and they were a really competitive team, but fallen on harder times as of late. But now the rebrand to Gwalior United, they've got some really good backers behind them now as well. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what they do and sort of what level the Adran Premier is at. Because I think if you compare, I think Adran Premier is more comparable to Tier 3 in
Sure.
England. So it's quite interesting seeing how they do and how they fare, because you sort of attract the same players. But no, the only reason Gwalior are in the English here because they've existed for such a long time and they've got a great history of bringing through some amazing Welsh talents. But yeah, so they're off doing their own thing now, and then we've got our thing here in Wales.
Yeah, brilliant. And speaking about the kind of comparison between Tier 3 and potentially the Adran Premier, what what's the kind of state of professionalism? I think I've read on the Wikipedia page, and I don't know how up to date this is, so you can probably confirm, is that there's 4 teams that are semi-pro, but I don't know what that feels like and how. Yeah, I guess is that correct? And what is the kind of levels of professionalism in the league?
So stepping into semi-professionalism is a very new thing here, and
Sure.
I know confirmed at the moment you've got Cardiff City, Swansea City, Wrexham, and TNS are all semi-pro. I
Sure.
know some other clubs have some parts that are semi-pro, some others not, but this whole chat about semi-pro, no one really knows what it means. No one, everyone has their own different version of it, and we're still. It's what I like about the Adran Premier. We're still trying to figure everything out because it's so new, because it's fresh, and we're everyone's sort of working their way through, and you can see that because it is growing season on season. But
Sure.
yeah, having 4 semi-pro clubs is a really good step, and I think give it a couple more seasons, we should have a lot more, and that is only good and a really good thing. And in the Adran South, so below the Adran Premier, you've got the Adran North and Adran South, actually second tier. Llanelli Town and the Adran South have got now are semi-pro as well. So if you start getting clubs in the second tier going semi-pro, that's only going to elevate the game all across Wales, which is only a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we see this, I guess, more and more in Tier 3 of the women's game in England, and yeah, definitely, it's a brilliant trajectory to be on. I think it is really exciting to kind of see newer leagues popping up everywhere and that development. And I guess as well, it gives an opportunity to kind of tread your own path in some ways, which is quite exciting in and of itself. So to dig into that history since 2009 a little bit, we've seen 3 different winners of the Adran Premier, which has seen a bit of a dominance for the South of Wales for those Cardiff City, Swansea Cities, and Cardiff Met. So I think, so to check my stats, it's Cardiff Met have won 6 times, Swansea City have won it 6 times, and Cardiff City have won it 3 times. So is there that dominance because of potentially their connections? They seem more well-established names in the football world, other than perhaps Cardiff Met, which is a university kind of linked. It would be a Loughborough University type equivalent in England. How's that? Is there a kind of sense of a domination, or is it actually quite good? Because there are 3 different winners, which in other leagues you might have seen more of a dominance of just one club.
It's a weird one. I think in Wales you're very aware of the north-south divide. Everything, you go up to North Wales and it is a completely different story to South Wales. All the development is in the south. You've got big cities like Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, even Carmarthen, all in the south. And in the north, you have got Wrexham and maybe Bangor, but there isn't much of a development up there. And I think that you can see that in the league, because when the league first started, when the Adran Premier had its rebrand in 2021, the only northern team was TNS, and it was only until Wrexham got promoted as up to 2. So there's always just been a north-south divide. So that's the way it has been. That's the way it is. All the better footballers that come from the south. But coming on to your point about 3 teams winning the league, yeah, there is whenever you go into a new season, you don't really know. There's never a firm favourite about who's winning the league. It's the same this year, and I think we could well get a 4th winner this season, and that's really exciting in itself. So, yeah, it is good. It is good, and it's always competitive between each other. Games between Cardiff and Swansea, and then Met and Cardiff, they're all super competitive. But I think, in particular, this season, the trajectory of some of the teams is insane. Like Met on a side down, for example, and it's interesting to see how everything's going. But yeah, university teams, they sometimes have brilliant squads. Some amazing American players used to play for Met back in the day, but they're all gone. It's all dried up now. So, but yeah, no, you go into every season and you know it's going to be competitive. You know there's never going to be a real runaway leader, which is what you need in leagues to improve and to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are you tipping for that potential 4th new winner for the upcoming season?
I think it could well be TNS this year, which TNS is quite a controversial club to some in Wales. So for those who don't know, TNS are based in Oswestry, which is in England, but they play in the Welsh League because way back then there was a merger between one club in England and one club in Wales, but they play in the Welsh leagues. That's the long and short of it, and it still causes problems now. But what TNS have done are really impressive. Since moved into a semi-pro model now, added some really good talent. So Maria Francis Jones has come over from Burnley, but Maria is a Welsh international, having played for Manchester City, Sheffield United, Burnley, and she's only 21. Like, it's huge for our league to have a Welsh international in it, but they've got a lot of pace, they've got a lot of talent, and they're an example of a team who survived relegation their first season on the last day, but since then have grown and grown and grown, and now.
Oh, sorry, I think my internet's being slightly laggy, so if I've got a delay, that's on my bad. But no, brilliant. And I guess we're going to come on to some things you touched on there in terms of fixtures this season and looking a bit deeper into the table this season, and obviously TNS being top and a potentially big game on the weekend. Although I'm not sure, because the league hasn't split yet, how big that is. But yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit on the rebrand that you mentioned in 2021. And I think there's kind of 2 aspects of this that really interested me. Firstly, there was a renaming. So it went from the Welsh Premier Women's League to the Adran Premier, which was, my notes tell me, was firstly to kind of move away from this women's labelling so that it's more on parity with the men's leagues, because they obviously aren't called like the men's Premier or kind of equivalent. But also, Adran meaning division in Welsh. So I just wanted to, like, how much is there a real focus? And I guess you touched on the kind of issues with having TNS potentially based in England. How much is it important to have that focus on Welsh identity in the league?
It's huge. And it goes all the way back to even before this whole thing, back to when Gary Speed took over as Wales men's manager, and he put in some things to improve just professionalism across the Football Association, even making players aware of just how important sing the anthem was, because no one used to sing the anthem. But then Gary Speed came in, changed all that, and ever since then, there's been a real push and drive from the FAW to make it Welsh, make everything Welsh. Welsh identity is such a big thing now. Welsh language is everywhere, and you can see that in the Adran Premier. Just calling it Adran Premier, that's huge. Like, it's a Welsh word in a major league. That's brilliant for us. And yeah, I think it always makes you aware when people say it. Oh, Adran, what does that mean? And then that always develops into a conversation, and that's really key because Welsh identity is. I know this is a very broad subject. This is we're going into it a little bit, but Welsh identity is something that hasn't always been there, and it sort of hasn't known what it is for a good while. But I think you can pinpoint Gary Speed coming in as manager and it all changing across the board: men's, women's, development teams, domestic leagues. Like ever since then, it has changed so much. So it's huge having a Welsh word in our league, and yeah, we've got Welsh speakers across the league as well. And you've got S4C as the main broadcaster; they broadcast in Welsh as well. So the language is always there, and that's so important. As a native Welsh speaker myself, it is so important just to have that awareness of the language.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was kind of taking advantage a little bit of your international politics and relations degree there, but I think it's super interesting and important to touch on, I guess, those aspects of the league just as much as the actual development of football, which is what I will touch on now. And I think, I guess, my questions in terms of the restructuring or the rebrand, if you like, in 2021, what other changes did that see get brought in and how are they impacting today?
So there was a lot of controversy when the rebrand happened because some teams were demoted. So you got Abergavenny and Britain Ferry off the top of my head were demoted, and Abergavenny had finished in the top four the season before, and now they went into the second tier. They got promoted, but now their women's team don't exist anymore. That's that's the sort of dark side of Welsh football where a team used to get relegated from the Adran Premier and they just couldn't sustain themselves and they had to go. So there's been that element to it, and that really annoyed a lot of people. And then TNS and Barry were given a free pass, essentially, just given straight into the league. But I think it is. I think it was important to invite TNS and Barry into the league back then because they've got such a prominent men's team. Like Barry is a huge club in Welsh football, so to sort of recognise names in a league alongside Cardiff City and Swansea City and Cardiff Met was really important. But since then, everything's been going from strength to strength. Britain Ferry have finally got back into the league, which is really good because they are some team. Quite they're funny. They're a bit aggressive, but they do things differently down there. But it's really good to have them back. And yeah, there are a couple of new teams have come in as well. And all in all, since the rebrand, although it did receive criticism at the start, not many people are criticising it now.
Yeah. No, I guess I was kind of looking at that in terms of the controversy about Abergavenny and then TNS, and in some ways, it's kind of sad to say, but I guess the league were proved right a little bit in this fact that TNS have managed to go on and challenge that established top three, and maybe Abergavenny hadn't survived, but whether that's a result of the league or not is probably a contentious subject, I'm guessing. I also would like to point out that I feel like our channel should be Barry Town United fans, given we do have a Barry among our ranks. So yeah, I quite like that little connection that we've got going on there. And just referring to my notes, but I guess we'll focus a little bit on the football aspect of it now. And you've already tipped TNS potentially for a bit of an upset. Who else do you think are you likely to see then the two Cardiff sides and Swansea making up the rest of that top four? And what are you looking at for when the league splits?
Swansea, Cardiff City, and TNS will be in that top three no matter what. I think what they've done in the summer, they've all been really good, and just the standard and the level they're playing is quite frankly higher than everyone else. The two teams that are really interesting for potentially all the wrong reasons. Cardiff Met first off. They've sacked their manager 2 weeks before the season, and they've lost a lot of really experienced players who some had Welsh caps, some have played in youth team groups for England. They've all gone, and this is a very young team, a very, very young team who don't have much Adran Premier experience with an interim manager in charge. And they finished in the bottom four last season, which shocked a lot of us. And then this season, they've really struggled to recruit really good, talented players. And so they're a team that are on the down. A lot of people have tipped them for relegation this season, and that is going to be really interesting to watch. And then the other one's Wrexham. And Wrexham got promoted last season, 2 seasons ago, finished third in their first season, did brilliantly. And we're all aware of the Hollywood story with the men. They're doing really well in League One, got a lot of investment. But this is a women's team this season that I don't know what they're going to do. They've really not brought in many players. I think only 3 new players have come in over the summer, which is quite a surprise when Wrexham have this pull now. They went to America for pre-season. No other club in Wales has gone to America for pre-season, but they've started off with 2 defeats this season, one to Cardiff City and then one to newly promoted Britain Ferry, and that was a really bad loss, the Britain Ferry one. And now this weekend they're going to be at the racecourse facing Swansea, and if they lose that, there's a lot of question marks around this Wrexham side. So I'd have Cardiff City, I'd have TNS, and I'd have Swansea City in the top three no matter what. But that fourth spot, I think, is wide open to absolutely everyone else in the league.
No, that's really interesting. I guess that makes it a bit more exciting. We're 2 matches in now, right? So coming up to the third game week on the weekend, are there any standout fixtures if people are watching this on a Friday and might want to check it out on the Sunday? Are there any standout? I know it's TNS versus Cardiff City, right? So potentially 2 big teams there. Are there any? Why is that game particularly exciting? And I guess are there any other fixtures that you might want to point out, or even like highlights to go and watch of games that have been significant so far?
Yeah, so Cardiff City facing TNS at Cardiff City Stadium. Well, it's only the third game of the season, but I think what it is, it's a battle of mentality. Cardiff City, the two-time champions, against TNS, the contenders, and it's just about seeing, because this is a Cardiff City team that have lost their whole spine. They've got their captain retired, and then the Adran Premier Player of the Season last season, Sarah Watkins, has gone to West Brom along with forward Rhian Oakley, and that's a whole spine gone. And they were 3 such influential players on this team. So this is a Cardiff City team that's quite young, who is trying to find maybe a different way of playing against the TNS team who we mentioned, who won 5-0 and 6-1 in their first 2 games, which is quite ridiculous to start a campaign. So it's just seeing that clash of styles, I think, is going to be really interesting. How Cardiff are going to stop this really pacey TNS attack, but also how are TNS going to cope against probably the best attack they've faced so far. In other games, yeah, Wrexham Swansea at the racecourse is a late kickoff, and that's going to be live on S4C and on YouTube, and there'll be Welsh commentary and English commentary, because I think it's quite important to point out there's English commentary on S4C because a lot of people may not be aware of it, and that'll be a really good game. There's always good games up at the racecourse, and then I'll be at Barry against Aberystwyth, which should be interesting. Both teams haven't won so far, but Barry picked up a really good point away to Swansea last weekend, a 0-0 draw at the Liberty, which is really impressive for Barry. And then the other game, we've got Britain Ferry against Cardiff Met, and Britain Ferry, newly promoted, won their first 2 games. Cardiff Met winless so far, but all the highlights will be on Scorio's Twitter account. So Scorio is spelled Sgorio. So go check that out, because there's some good goals in this league all the time. And then highlights will also be on YouTube as well. But normally you'll find all the content really easy, and all the clubs do really good work as well.
Awesome. No, I'll definitely be checking that out. I guess my other footballing based question was: are there any like players? You mentioned one already, TNS. Are there any players that we should maybe be keeping our eye on from the Adran Premier? And I guess I was also curious as to whether we've seen any kind of names that we might recognise in the game have come through the ranks of the Adran Premier at any point.
So, like I said before, we're sort of working things out, but I think what this league is becoming is a good ground for young players to come and play some regular football and then move on in their careers. So Ellen Valentine was a goalkeeper at Aberystwyth. She's now playing at Newcastle United. You've got Vera Jones, who's left Barry to join Chelsea this summer, and then Liv Francis left Pontypridd and is at Manchester United on loan at Liverpool Feds now. So you've got this really talented young. There are so many good young players playing in this league. You've got Eliza Colley at Cardiff City. She was top scorer last season. You've got Maya Owen at Britain Ferry, who has come through. So we've got this FAW Girls Academy. So until the age of 17, basically the academy play against boys teams that are like under 15 level, under 14 level, and they go into the leagues. And I cannot tell you how important that is for these young players to have that level of just facing the physicality, because even under 15s boys are so different to 17-year-old girls, and just having that consistency every week has made them into such good players. And they've now dotted all over the league, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. But yeah, in terms of players who have come through this league, you've got Manon Pierce. Manon Pierce is her name. She's gone from Barry, Cardiff City's now at Bristol City, regularly on the bench for them in the Championship. You've got, but some players have come back to the league as well. So Chloe Bull was another who joined Bristol City, Welsh international. She's come back now at Swansea. And then Nia Jones as well is another one at Swansea who has played all over the place, mainly netball as well. She's a Welsh netball international, but she's now at Swansea City playing football. So you get names that come and go, but this is a league that promotes young talent, and you'll see that in a couple of seasons. There'll be players in the WSL in the Championship who have started off in Wales because this is a good level for young players to come and develop.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It certainly sounds like that from what I've listened to, and I think, yeah, I'm definitely excited to kind of get to grips with it a little bit more and maybe watch a bit more and feel like a little bit of a scout maybe for future talent. I guess my final kind of one, and it might be a bit obviously talking about how they're maybe working things out, but they do. Is it currently the one side they get in the UEFA European coefficient to go into the UWCL qualifying? Any chance maybe of we see anyone from the Adran Premier competing in Europe anytime soon?
I wish I could say yes, but this is the one bit where it's going to take a good while because there's the trusty UEFA coefficient. Which if you're a fan of an English club, you may not know about a coefficient. This may be completely new to you, but for countries like Scotland and Wales and Ireland, Northern Ireland, this is really important to us. The coefficient, it basically ranks countries in terms of how well their clubs do in Europe. And there's 51 associations in Europe that have women's teams. Wales currently are 48th, which is low. We are below the likes of Estonia, Kosovo, and Latvia. And I thought Cardiff had a good chance in the second game. So Cardiff City played FC20 in their first game, who are most likely going to be into the group stages. Maybe when people are watching this, they may have already been there, but they're 4-1 up in their first leg. And they were comfortably the better team, beat Cardiff City 7-0. But then in that second game, the third place playoff, they played Lobotan of North Macedonia, and by all accounts, the far better team, had plenty of chances, couldn't score, and Lobotan won 2-0. And it's going to be those kinds of games that the sides need to start winning to boost that coefficient, to give more chance of Welsh clubs getting into Europe, because the last Welsh side to win in Europe, Cardiff, met in 2019. It's been a while since we've seen a win here. for an Adran Premier team. So that's the big step, is just need to pick up a win somewhere in Europe. We don't care where, just somewhere, especially with this second tier competition coming in now. If you win that third place game, you'll be in that second tier competition. So that could be more success in the future, maybe. But yeah, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little while before a Welsh team makes a European competition proper.
Yeah, we'll be there when they do. We're absolutely on it, and ready for it with our knowledge after this, and going away and researching. Is there anything? I feel like I've gone through my kind of research, but I'm fully aware that that's not extensive. So please do feel free. Like, if there's anything that you think is important to mention about the Adran Premier that I've potentially missed off.
It's a good question. I think it's improving. I can't state in the space of 3 seasons the improvements we've seen is dramatic. And looking at the national team as well, the under 17s, the under 19 team, filled with Adran Premier players, absolutely filled with it, and that's huge because if you can get your own talent playing in the national team, that goes such a long way. And there's a pathway from the under 17s to the seniors. There is a really big pathway here, and this is a Welsh national team that is young, but there's also we've got a few older players. There's no one between that 25-30 age range. Everyone's either 30 and over or 25 and under. So you've got people like Jess Fishlock, Sophie Ingle, Laura O'Sullivan, who might be on. This could be their last qualifier, but this is going to be filled with young players soon, and a lot of it is going to come from the Adran Premier, and that is, you wouldn't think that even 5 years ago that would be possible. So it's just the constant improvements we're seeing across the board. It's just really good to watch. And I know the WSL, the Championship, like even the Scottish leagues, they take a lot of coverage away. There's not many people know about the Adran Premier. I'm very aware of that. But the more strides we can make, putting people in the national team, players getting good transfers to clubs, there's going to be more attention on that, and it will grow. It's just a very exciting time to be a part of this league.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it. And where I know we mentioned it at the start, but where if people want to keep up to date with the league and read your writing specifically, where can they go and find that?
Yep. So follow my Twitter there at Sion Misra. I'm at a game every week. I interview people every week. Just anything Welsh football related. I've got hopefully some good exclusive interviews coming up with players in the league and also a few couple of Welsh internationals as well, which is definitely worth keeping an eye on. So yeah, give me a follow on Twitter, and yeah, everything you need to know will be there. But no, thank you so much, Laura, for this, and really enjoyed this chat.
Yeah, no, me too. I've very much enjoyed today, and I feel like I've come away learning a little bit more, well, a lot more actually, about the Adran Premier, about Welsh women's football. So thank you, and we'll hopefully be back on Monday with another show, and we'll see you then. So thanks for tuning in for this one.